Let's get one thing straight. Masturbation is not just a physical act. In fact, it all begins in the mind, and the body follows suit, forming a symbiotic relationship of sorts. Why is this important? Because the mental and physical effects of masturbation are often seen as two separate topics, but the truth is, they're all connected. Masturbating excessively has a mental impact that can cause physical symptoms and vice versa. Today, we're going to cover what happens when you masturbate too much and how it impacts the mind and body. Let's get started. Brain rewiring. Masturbation is healthy in moderation, but when it becomes a full-blown addiction, it can rewire your brain. In fact, it could even change your brain the same way any addiction would. Here's how it works. Masturbation triggers the release of dopamine, a responsible for pleasure and reward in the brain. Over time, excessive masturbation activates and increases the levels of delta FOSB, which is a protein that regulates the reward system in your brain and accumulates when you engage in any addictive behavior. The delta FOSB protein basically acts like an electric switch in the brain and forms new neural pathways in response to rewarding stimuli and overstimulation, AKA dopamine release, from masturbating excessively. The more you masturbate, the more this switch goes off, making it extremely difficult to quit if it's an addiction, because your brain is now wired to crave it constantly. The key distinction here is addiction or excessive. Masturbating is very healthy if done in moderation. A trauma response? Masturbation may function as a self-soothing or stress relief behavior, particularly among individuals with a history of trauma. While moderate engagement is not inherently problematic, excessive use can negatively influence interpersonal relationships and emotional intimacy. Feeling an urgent need to masturbate anytime emotion could be an unhealthy trauma response because you're not facing the underlying issue that is causing you distress. According to PhD Alexandra Kitakis, anxiety, fear, jealousy, and other primal emotions can immediately trigger the need to pleasure oneself, often so quickly that the addict doesn't have time to make the connection between the stressor and their reaction to it. Eventually, negative emotions will bubble to the surface, even if you're masturbating to numb your feelings of pain and grief. It's crucial to seek a mental health professional for advice on how to address underlying negative emotions because avoiding it and using masturbation to cope with it can exacerbate existing mental health issues. Negative impact on relationships. Excessive masturbation can also cross over into our real life romantic and sexual relationships. Neuroscientist Andrew Huberman explains how this issue arises from compulsive masturbation, from watching too much porn. There's good data to support the idea that if your brain learns to be aroused by watching other people have sex, it's not necessarily going to carry over to the ability to get aroused when you're one-on-one with somebody else. However, it can vary depending on whether the person is primarily watching porn or not. Research shows that watching too much porn and excessive masturbation can negatively impact a person's ability to feel sexually satisfied, potentially distorting their views of intimacy. However, not everyone watches masturbating. And so while compulsive masturbation can still be an issue even without porn, it may not impact their sex life as severely as it would for someone who is also addicted to porn. Remember, porn and masturbation, while often discussed in tandem, are separate issues and aren't mutually exclusive. Now that we've gone over the impact excessive masturbation can have on your body and mind, we wanna hear from you. Let us know what you think of the video in the comments. Thank you for watching, and as always, have a beautiful day.